go by the name of Yefe, Big 604, class is in session. I want to introduce you all to the urban scholar himself, Yusuf. Class in session.
Class is in session, class is in session, class is in session. Ask me a question. Class is in session, class is in session, class is in session. Ask me a question, it gets massive in seconds. I'm on task with the message. We gon' talk about the past and the present. Hey, ask me a question, yeah, these facts be the weapons. Ask me a question, yeah. Class is in session, class is in session, class is in session. Ask me a question, yeah. Class is in session, class is in session, class is in session. Ask me a question, yeah. Class.
Welcome, class in session. I'm your host, Urban Scholar. Welcome. Tonight we got a dope topic. It's a personal topic. It's one that kind of hits home. It's something that I've been holding it in for a long time. There was a situation that I was in business-wise, and it didn't fare out too well for me. And it was during a real tough time in my life where my mom was battling stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I remember talking with my family about what I had stumbled upon. So I'm gonna take you back a little bit. Back in around 2010, when I was living in Philadelphia, I met this lady via, I guess, social media, and she pegged me, and she wanted to meet me, and she said she was a music exec, that she had a record label, and she stated that she wanted me to be the president of the label. So I kept saying, well, who are you, lady? Like, why are you reaching out to me? Like, what's really going on here? What we talking about? Fast forward, I wasn't really feeling her. We met downtown Philly. At the time, I was a program director. I was running two children and family programs in two parts of North Philly. I was a director. I managed psychiatrists and master level therapists. And, I was busy. And, I was really trying to be a career guy. I was kind of out of the game as far as doing any business. I just was, enjoying the fact that I had a career, and where I was at in my career, I was at one of the highest stages of my career. And it was a major accomplishment, managing psychiatrists and 30 masters level therapists on a daily basis in 2 locations, and a whole billing department, both locations. And I did everything on my own. I didn't have an assistant, didn't have a supervisor. Everybody reported directly to me. So fast forward, I met this young lady. I'm not going to mention her name. And we met. She showed paperwork. She did everything she could to prove to me that she was a legitimate business person. She said she had artists on the Billboard charts and everything, and produced all of that stuff. And I said, how do I know these people are signed to you? She showed me paperwork with assets totaling $70 million. She even called the bank, where, you can hear the verbal prompts about what was in the accounts. And it was a lot of money. But I still never felt comfortable, right, with her. My gut, I'm kinesthetic. Everybody knows I go off my gut. And I just wasn't feeling her. So I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling you. Can you not contact me no more? And she, when I met her, I didn't really get good energy. She was a little, I don't know, it didn't work for me. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm on about my business. I'm in Jersey chilling. I still live in Philly, but I was down visiting family, and I got a Google chat. Remember those days? Google chats, man. I done been through some stages in terms of technology, man. From the pagers to the Nokia cell phones, the Nextel joints, like the Nextel sidekicks. Y'all don't even know. I didn't saw so many different things, but I got a Google chat. I'm driving. I'm on the turnpike. I'm reading it, and it's a what do you call it? It's a press release that was released on Yahoo Sports, and it said that this such and such person just purchased the New York rugby franchise, the New York one, and she's the first female sports owner in the world, outright. So it was this big press release, and guess what? It was on Yahoo News. So I'm like, wow, that's real big. If it's on Yahoo, like, that's dope. So, my curiosity got me. I said, damn, maybe this person is who she says she is, right? So fast forward, I said, listen, I'm in New Jersey. What do you want? She said, I just want to make things right between us because I know you didn't believe me back when I told you about the record label. She said, I sent you that so you can see that I'm legit and I want to make things right between us. So I said, well, what do you want from me? She says, I want you to be my partner and I want you to run the franchise that I just purchased for $10 million. I said, whoa, how we get here? And why do you keep seeking me out? Because you don't know me from a can of paint. She says, you just seem like a trustworthy person. I'm just saying to myself, this don't happen. It ain't real. So I went along with it because what do I have to lose? It could be legit, right? Fast forward. Man, next thing I know, I'm in meetings with her and this legitimate dude. I'm not going to mention his name because he's still in business and he's running that company, right? So we're going to get to that. So next thing you know, I'm in meetings with people who are multimillionaires and business owners. And just a little information, the partner that she was 50-50 with, his father had owned, I don't know if people remember the USFL. They used to own a football team in that league, the father, and he owned a bunch of PGA golf courses. And this particular person was a lawyer by trade, but obviously turned businessman based from dealing with his dad. And he worked with the NFL Network, and he was the attorney that had a lot of history with the NFL players and helping them with negotiations and things like that. So he had access to NFL. He had network there. He knew people from MLS, Major League Soccer, and those were the people that were on the board of this company, one of the big executives from MLS. And he had a contract, an agreement with the NFL Network where they was going to give the company 20 hours of on time to air the rugby games because it was a rugby company. And I'm not going to mention the name, fast forward, right? And I just still never believed it. I'm in these meetings every day and I'm talking to them and they keep saying, Joe, you're rich, blah, blah, blah. I said, nah, I'm not rich. She made me a partner. So out of her 50%, she gave me 23 or 24%. And my sister can verify all this stuff because all the contracts went to her because she was working for an attorney at the time. And the attorneys reviewed all the contracts. They said, Sheila, your brother is really in a good situation. If he needs attorneys, we wouldn't mind representing him. And my salary was like about, I think she made me the president of the franchise in New York. That salary was just like $1 and some change. And fast forward, they sold one of the teams to me because there were 16 teams, right? In this sports league, the rugby league. And they asked me which franchise that I want to purchase. And each team, the cost was $10 million. I said, well, I want the Atlanta franchise because I plan to move there. My son is there and, he has a family there and I want to relocate at some point, and, become a business person. You can live anywhere. So I still would be the president of the New York franchise. I still would be partnership with them. So it was 3 of us. And all the paperwork came in. I signed it. After the lawyers reviewed it, they said everything was legit. So fast forward, we're in meetings and I'm still working. And they kept saying, Joe, why are you going to work? I said, because there's no money in my bank. So, and we're doing all these talkings and negotiations, and everybody at the table is completely legit. There's business partners in Philly, and they're asking me which office I want to be working in. Do I want to work in Philly? Do I want to work in, I think it was a Mount Laurel location she had, and people were super rich. She was connected to the casinos. And I remember having a meeting in Chester. It was the casino out there. I forgot what it's called. And we met with the GM, and they was negotiating the old racetrack over there. and they was going to convert that into a rugby field, and it was crazy. And there was a rugby game out there in, I think, Chester somewhere, and we went to that. It was on NBC, and it was crazy, man. It was TV cameras everywhere, and everybody like, hey, when we had the meeting at the hotel with the GM, I'm sitting next to him. He's patting me on the back, contacting the big boss out in Vegas, and things was moving. I'm in these meetings. I'm meeting the mayor of Chester, and everybody, and people running up to me, and I'm in all these places, and people are treating me like I'm some big exec. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I don't believe none of this stuff. Fast forward, the person that brought me in didn't have her own stuff. And she didn't have a place to live. She was living with some people. She didn't have no car. She never had no money. And I kept saying, if you got $70 million in the bank, why the hell do you keep bumming money for cigarettes and coffee? And why you never eat? And why you living with people? I started asking all these questions that everybody would ask. Oh, don't worry about that. I can't access my money. I'm in a legal situation with my old partner, and all my assets are froze. Made sense, right? Ding, ding, ding. So I'm like, yeah, all right. So behind the scenes, I'm talking to the other partners, and even with her on the phone, we in the conferences, and they kept saying, Joe, like, what's going on? You look like you're concerned. I said, yeah, I just don't feel good about her. And she the one brought me in. I'm legally already an owner, the third owner. So now I'm the first black guy that owns not even a franchise. Like, I'm only 24% owner of a league. And a lot of people don't really know this story. And during all this, my mom was in the hospital, in the nursing home, dying from stage 4 cancer, right? And I remember telling her, I said, listen, I know what you're going through. Everything's going to be okay. I got the family. I came into a situation and we're good. And I told her it's okay. You can do what you need to do. I promise you I'll take care of the family. And she transitioned not too long after that. And it was tough. I spent like the last 2 weeks with her. I left my job. They was very understanding, and I'm still dealing with all this stuff, right? And this lady is really still going with everything. And I'm telling them, no, everything's not cool. And they're like, Joe, everything's great. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no, it's not. Y'all the ones that's got all this money. So one of the things that we talked about, they talked about what the net worth of the company was already. And it was listed at $400 million pre-launch. So I said, wow. And they said, well, Joe, you own 24% of that. So you're looking at your net worth probably right now is close to $100 million. I'm saying, man, I don't believe none of this stuff. Like, it just wasn't real. But all the situations we were in were legitimate people. But I just didn't really feel good about her. So fast forward, when we opened up the bank accounts, we went to Wells Fargo, those people came to the home and met with us. We even went to the bank, we opened up the bank accounts because the other partner who started this league, he lived in California. So we all three had authorization, but none of us could access any funds without signatures from everybody. But we were able to open the accounts without him physically being here. He just had to sign off on everything once we got everything done. Everything was done electronically. And things were moving. We were looking to do things in Atlantic City. We was looking to do things all over. We were acquiring other rugby leagues, and we had hired a commissioner. Like, this thing was really happening. And I remember one day we was in a meeting. I'm at work. I'm outside. They like, why are you at work? I'm like, because I don't have no money. I don't understand why y'all keep asking me to leave my job. I'm not leaving my job. None of this has happened yet. Oh, the money will come in once we start selling the franchises, and that's going to be the operating expenses when the money comes in from the team purchases. So I was like, okay, well, I'll kindly wait till that happens. But until then, I ain't no payroll going on, ain't got no money happening. I'm not doing nothing. Why don't I quit my job? This is how I survive. So other people that was coming in, the commissioner and different things, these people left their places of employment, right? As we were acquiring teams and leagues, right? Because we owned the licensing rights to rugby in the world. So no one could do anything with rugby without going through us, right? And that was the benefit of going into a partnership with a lawyer. He had procured and secured all of that before he started the venture. And people from, the rugby world wasn't too happy about that, but it was like, hey, we're going to take your sport and we're going to make this a national thing, and you guys be able to make money like soccer players and football players and things like that. So of course they didn't really believe it, but it was something that we felt it was marketable. And I agreed. I said, this is kind of like real cool, right? Fast forward. So when it came time for my partner to submit her first payment, because the franchises were $10 million, she had to make a payment every quarter, $2.5 million each quarter. So when it came time for her to transfer her $2.5 million into the company's bank account, it never happened. And that's when the partner started questioning. And I said, hey, I told you, I just don't really feel good about the situation. She doesn't look like she have any money. I'm not really sure how you got in business with her. He's like, oh, she was checked out, blah, 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 blah. I was like, And of course, I'm the only in the equation. So I'm like, man, listen, I'm like, yeah, I ain't feeling good about this. I ain't feeling good about her. And behind the scenes, I was having a lot of arguments with her because she had no money. I never saw her with money. And I don't know how she convinced this guy, a legitimate businessman, that she had money. And I believe she was running what we call a scam, a Ponzi scam, where she was hoping he would put the money into the bank and she would try to find a way to get the money out and run with it. And she was using me because of who I was in the community. She had been watching me. She said, you're honorable and trustworthy. And she said, I even had to kind of push him to allow you to become my partner. Because of course, we're not at that table. I don't know how many, I'm not Michael Jordan, so I don't have that kind of money to demand ownership in something, right? We're not just there. We're not there. I'm not Magic Johnson, right? So I'm somebody who ain't got nothing, and here I am at the table, under contract, and got ownership in something that could be big. If she had deposited that $2.5 million, I wouldn't even be sitting here. Long story short, she never did it. They started arguing. She ran and went underground. And everything fell apart because I was her partner. So when she left and ran and went underground, he couldn't do anything but just deal with the fact that that situation didn't work out. And we spoke later on after that. And he said, I consider you a friend out of adversity. He said, because you were trustworthy, you're very smart, much smarter than I am. He said, and you warned us, and we didn't believe you. He said, but I consider you a friend out of adversity. And we kind of kept in communications over the years, but things drifted apart. I went on about my life. My mom passed. I didn't even care no more. But that was my story of how I was almost a multimillionaire at one point. So, but one of the things that situation did, it taught me that I could do anything I want. And I learned about those businesses. I learned how the NFL does business, how Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, all those big corporations, I understood how they do business, and I understand ownership structure and what it really means to be an owner. So I'm not going to go into those details because I'm just not. Because a lot of what we think we see and know, we don't. But I have inside information, that tells me otherwise, and that's why I view sports differently. But just to know, if this venture would have kicked off, I probably would be close to a billionaire at this point if that venture kicked off. But that was my story, and it was something I've been wanting to share for a while. I hope it was insightful, and if you guys experience anything like that, please comment, share, follow us, subscribe on our YouTube, on our Facebook, Instagram, Class and Session Podcast. and share our podcast with all your family and friends. And remember, the future's Urban Scholar. God, I hate this thing. It never works when I want it to work.